Motion in sim racing. Does it have to be as expensive as you've been led to believe? Symdeck don't think so, and that's why they've brought out this, the Symdeck Motion Deck, for a range of different arcade and simulation driving games. We've been lucky enough to be provided with a copy of the first model in the range, and we're going to give you our thoughts, impressions and some feedback as to what is a very compact and very cost-effective solution to adding motion in a wide range of racing simulators. Stay tuned to ReTV to find out what we think of this new product. Hey guys, so here we are in the Symdeck GCR1000 motion platform. This is a very new product on the marketplace from a very young company called Symdeck. Now they've been very kind to send me a motion platform and set it up in my house. So Mrs. Jeffrey is delighted this currently sits in the front room. So thank you guys. What I want to talk to you today about is how the motion deck feels in a range of different sim racing titles. Primarily I've driven this in Project Cars 2. The one that we've got, the GCR1000 that we're running today, is hooked up to a Microsoft Xbox Project Scorpio edition. So we've got P-Cars 2 in all its 4K UHD glory, and we've got it on a big 40-inch flat screen UHD TV as well. Now Symdeck offer a range of different options for people that are looking to go motion platform. They offer just the deck itself, which is a standalone item that you can attach your rig on, your existing monitor solution and peripherals to, and that's about 1500 GBP. But if you're looking for an all-in-one package, there are a number of different ranges. The version we've got that we're running here is 5600 GBP, Great British Pounds, and that comes with the motion platform, the rig itself, the seat, the Thrustmaster accessories, so we've got the wheel, the gear stick, the pedal set. It comes with a 40-inch Samsung UHD TV, and it comes with a Logitech surround sound speaker system. So basically, and obviously the Project Scorpio Xbox as well. So it comes as a full plug and play complete package, everything you need. It's even got these little wind simulators that you see on the front. So for 5600, Symdeck are offering a full all-in-one solution that will get you up, running and gaming straight away in motion, which compared to motion platform prices in the marketplace today, that's a very, very competitive offer. Incredibly cheap actually. And now we're really interested to see how this fares compared to some of the other motion simulators in the marketplace. Now, one thing to bear in mind when we're talking about this Symdeck motion platform, they do things a little bit differently. Motion platform you may know of will tilt forwards, backwards, left and right. This one comes at it from an entirely different perspective. So we've got no motion up and down here. We're going forwards and backwards. So what Symdeck have attempted to achieve with this is to simulate the forces of accelerating and braking. So I'm curious to see how this fared compared to more traditional motion that I'm used to, and I must admit I've been really impressed. Now I feared when driving this that I would lose some of the road feeling with the up, down, left, right motion of other rigs. Symdeck have attempted to address this by attaching a base shaker underneath the seat of the seat on the deck itself. This does a really good job. You don't need any additional software. This is all pre-baked in to the deck itself, so it runs off the game software, and that does a very good job of simulating the road feel, the engine vibration, the grittiness of the curbs and different road surfaces. So that's really nice that they've got that. For me, I'd like to see a little bit more base shaker, so I'd like to see something a bit stronger, or ideally other shakers located around the rig. But in terms of keeping down the price and keeping it accessible so it's usable and doesn't shake your house to pieces, it does a very solid job, and I'm very happy to see that that's been included. It also comes with its own adjustability. There's a little dial next to the wheel deck where you can turn the shaker off or increase or decrease strength to your taste, which is really nice. So they do a decent job of simulating road feel through the shaker. I think there's room for that to be improved. As I say, personally, I would like to feel more direct and more insistent force than the shaker that I'm using is capable of producing. And I'd also like to see the vibration and noise that it generates on the rig itself insulated somehow. Because it's sitting direct on the deck itself, it does offer a lot of additional vibration that is not necessarily ideal when you're driving in a cockpit like this that relies on speaker for audio rather than headset. That does interfere with the audio experience a little bit, and I think there's room certainly to improve that slightly. But as it stands, it's really good. I'm really satisfied with that. And again, bear in mind, this is a £5,600 all-inclusive price point. I don't think that's bad going at all. And it requires no additional payware or freeware software. It's all baked into the system, so it runs from the point of turning on the rig. Other nice little features I like about the Symdeck are these. These are two wind simulators situated in front of you on either side of the wheel deck in front of the monitor. These wind simulators can be turned on or off independently depending on your choice, and these are tied in to the depression level of your throttle. So the faster you go, the more they'll spin, and they have a cut-off point that you can define when you no longer wish for them to be running. The idea behind this is to simulate the wind in your face as you're driving along at speed in a selection of different road and racing cars, and they work really effectively. I've often seen reference to wind simulators that you can purchase independently for PC. I've never seen reference to one on a console before, and I've been curious to see how much immersion they bring to a sim driving experience, and I'm pleased to say they bring a lot. I really like WindSim, and this is something I will be looking at for my own personal rig going forward. Absolutely perfect little addition, a small thing but makes a big difference. And they're really nice. They've got the Symdeck logo in the middle. They're neat, they're unobtrusive, they've been well designed and well placed and do a really good job. You can tilt them forwards and backwards as you so desire, so you're not going to be sticking them in your face if you don't want. You can have them at your body, or you can adjust them to however is comfortable for you. Now, while we're talking about adjustability, the seat on this platform does move forwards and backwards. I'm 6'5", got a big frame, I can fit in here no problem. And as well as that, if you pull down this bar at the front, nice and simple, the wheel deck also moves forwards and backwards. There's additional adjustability for wheel deck height using these little turning caps where you can lift the whole unit up or drop the whole unit down. So it's fairly adjustable, and it's pretty good for a variety of different builds, shapes and sizes. So you should be able to find a reasonably satisfactory accommodation regardless of your frame and build. So they're really nice things. While I'm talking about things I really like, I'll speak about the seat that we've got behind us. It's very comfortable, it's a good size bucket seat. I'm tall but relatively slim, got relatively small hips, and I can fit in this absolutely no problem, but I'm not rattling about. I'm really nice. My dad's had a go at this, who's same height but considerably more girth, and he's managed to fit into it as well. So it's a good seat that accommodates a number of different shapes and sized people, which is really, really satisfying. And again, I think it's a nice quality seat, it's a good looking seat, it's comfortable. I imagine it works well over longer stints as well. So I really like the seat, and one of the big things that I absolutely loved about the Motion rig are these harnesses. So these harnesses that you can see here, these strap over your shoulders, one on each side. I'm not going to do them up now. And because these are bolted down onto the base of the rig itself and looped through the back, when you're on braking force and the seat moves backwards or the deck moves backwards, these tense up on you and pull you into the seat to simulate the G-force of heavy deceleration in a racing car. This is something that I really enjoyed about this. It's quite basic in how it's done, as in the seat buckle is bolted to the rig and then it utilises the movement of the deck itself to provide the tightness. I've been in some Motion rigs where that's electronically controlled and that pulls at different strengths depending on the force you've applied. But this solution is really elegant that the guys at Symdeck have come up with. And it sounds quite small, but that adds a massive amount to the immersion experience, where it's tricking your mind into thinking you're driving a real car. For me, that's one of the standout things. These are custom designed for Symdeck, these racing harnesses. They're very sturdy, they're very chunky, they're very real car feeling. And again, there's enough slack in these to make it tight on somebody with a smaller frame or a larger, taller, shorter. So again, some good compatibility for a wide variety of different people. Really like that. While I'm also talking about things I like, I'm also impressed with the amount of real estate this rig uses or doesn't use, as the case may be. It's a very compact, very self-contained unit. The monitor stand, the wheel deck, the seat, the stand itself are all included in one pack and are all joined together. There's nothing that stands alone on this unit. So I've not got an extra monitor mount hooked over it. There's nothing that stands outside of the unit itself. The speakers all attach to each corner of the rig and in the middle. The Xbox sits behind the monitor, which is integral to the unit as well as the monitor bracket. And it doesn't take up a ridiculous amount of space. So if you're quite space limited, you need more than the actual real estate of the unit itself, because it travels forwards and backwards. But in reality, it's much smaller than a lot of its rivals in the motion platform marketplace. That's really positive. We're not all lucky enough to have huge downstairs garage man caves, so people who are a little bit conscious of space want a neat, clean and elegant solution. This is a really positive move for Symdeck, and something that should very much play in your considerations when you're debating what kind of motion solution you might be looking for in future. I really like that. They seem to have been quite aesthetically pleasing with their design process. So they are designers by trade. So a lot of thought has gone into the ergonomics of where things are, the visual impact that the rig makes. And that's little things you can see, such as the Symdeck logo on the back of the platform. When it's running, it's lit up blue. When you're heavy braking, it goes red like a brake light. You can't see it when you're on the rig, but for spectators, that's a little bit of a wow factor. And if I'm paying $5.5 grand for a piece of kit, I want a wow factor. I want people to come in, look at it and go, damn, that's a good looking piece of kit. And I think Symdeck do quite well in that department. There are some things I would change aesthetically, but that's my personal preference. And I think, generally speaking, it's quite a clean, well, it's a very clean, very neat looking motion platform. There's some good cable management going on. It's all contained quite neatly. I like that your console sits behind your monitor, so it's out of sight. You can control everything through the buttons and dials on your steering wheel, so there's no mouse needed. The only piece of equipment that sits outside of the platform itself is the 5.1 surround sound speaker Logitech set, which is a very nice speaker set. I own one myself. Really nice sound, some good depth and some good volume available there as well. And that's a standalone piece that sits outside of the rig, but it's got plenty of cable length, so you can position that the base unit and the control unit and the remote control wherever is suitable for you and your particular arrangement. Now, we've talked about the things I like. Now I'm going to talk about a few of the things I'm not too keen on. This is a first design. There are many iterations to come, I am sure, but a few of these things feel a little bit unfinished for me. There are a few things like this has come loose, and that's just stuck onto the back of the steering wheel with some double-sided tape, strong double-sided tape, but tape nevertheless. Now that sits on the back of the Thrustmaster steering wheel, and there's a secondary cable that I'm not running today because it's frustrating how it's catching in the wheel, that then links up to a unit that sits underneath the wheel itself, and that gives the gear shift jerk. Whenever you're changing gears, the motion platform will jerk forward and backward slightly to simulate clunking into a new gear. That feels a little bit temporary, a little bit beta stage and not finished product. I'm not too sure I like that sort. I would have preferred a much more permanent, elegant solution. Now, whether that will come in future updates, I don't know, but I'm not convinced by that. Also, if you leave that plugged in when you turn on the steering wheel for the first time and it spins round to calibrate, that will often pull that cable out, and it'll only be a matter of time until that breaks because it's not strong enough, robust enough. I just don't like how you need to remember to do that, and the build quality of that is not high enough in my opinion. So hopefully that's something that will be improved and upgraded a little bit later on. Another thing I'm not too keen on is below me you've got the area where all your different bits of equipment plug in to the wheel deck itself. So that's where your wheels and pedals will plug in. This has been bespoke made by Symdeck, and this is compatible with Thrustmaster, some Logitech and some Fanatec wheel rims and pedals. But it's positioned just where I like to rest my foot at idle. So that's open to being caught, kicked and touched and messed about with, that could potentially again cause you a problem. I would like to have seen that in a better place that's more out of the way and less likely to be made contact with getting in and out of the rig or in everyday use. And also I would have liked it to have been covered or protected rather than left open to potentially, as I say, being caught. If you've got young kids around or people are getting in and out of the rig and trying it, that to me is a little bit risky that it's leaving it open for making contact with and causing problems. So again, these are relatively small things. Traditionally, these are the kind of things that you get in a first time with a motion rig, first time with any new product, and will, I'm sure, be addressed and ironed out in future build versions. Now, onto the actual motion itself. We've talked about the rig. It's a nice quality solid product. I'm running it with Thrustmaster gear. I've raced better and I've raced worse equipment, so that's something that comes included in the pack. The Logitech and Fanatec offerings are also available. They will attract a slightly different price, I am sure. But in terms of motion itself, forward and backward motion is something I've never done before. I've always done traditional 4 or 5 point where it dips and leans and yaw and that sort of thing. So forward and backward looked cool but a bit strange when sat outside of the rig. But when you get in the car, it really does do a very good job of simulating, accelerating and decelerating really quite well indeed. The amount of movement that the platform has is perfectly sufficient for the job it's trying to deliver. It does a good job of tricking your brain into thinking that you are in a moving vehicle. And I think it's a very, very satisfying motion experience. I don't think this, for me, is a rival for a traditional up-down, left-right tilt solution. I think this, in my opinion, is aiming for a different market space. You can spend 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 grand up for a normal, traditional, raised, dipping and leaning motion platform. And this is not going for that price range. This is accessible motion. And I think it enters a different part of the marketplace and is not a direct rival for the D-Box type solutions and other brands that you see. And I think that's interesting. It's compatible out of the box with console, which opens it up to a much wider marketplace than the often complex versions that you have for PC. That's a very interesting move from Symdeck, and I think this will be a very popular piece of equipment with the console player base. For PC, those of us like myself who have bought expensive high-end pieces of equipment, it doesn't work with a direct drive wheel yet, maybe in future, or custom bespoke pedals like the Huskenveld or the Derek Spear Designs or the PT Sims pedals. And that's a shame, because for me, if I'm going to be spending £5,000 or £6,000 on motion, I'd want my expensive toys to work with it. So I don't think it's aimed at those R-Factor 2 6-hour endurance race drivers. I think it's aimed at quicker, easier thrills, more accessible thrills on a wider range of racing games and simulators. And if that's the case, then this is a very attractive product for those sorts of players. It loses a lot of immersion by not having the bumps and the undulations. It does a decent job through the base shaker under the seat, but it's not comparable to a full motion platform in that regard. But what it does do, it adds a level of immersion to your racing that's just not possible with a static rig, no matter how good the equipment is that you're using on that static rig. And again, for console, a marketplace is absolutely not being tapped by the motion platform sector. I think this is a really, really positive move for Symdeck, and a great piece of kit for someone that's looking to take their console experience to the next level. Now pair this up with a PC and a VR headset, you've also got a very good experience, don't get me wrong. And for the price point, you've got a practically unbeatable experience. But I dare say, if it was me, I'd look to spend that bit more and get a full motion solution. But if you're limited on space, you're limited on technical know-how, so you're looking for plug and play ability, you're a console user or even a PC user, this is a very good option. It's far superior to a static rig. Motion is always going to improve your driving experience, and this absolutely does that. It's very simple to use and maintain. The guys over at Symdeck are incredibly helpful. They're really nice guys. They want to engage with the customers. They want to speak about the product. They're passionate about the product. So no doubt they will come up and help you get this configured if you need, or they're always on the end of an email or a phone call. So they're a really good company that are very keen to utilise their real-world track experience into a virtual racing environment. So I've got no doubt that Symdeck are here for a long time. I've got no doubt this is going to be a very popular product. I think it just needs to know what sector of the marketplace it's trying to be. This is not a rival for full motion. This is almost carving out, carving out a new sector of the market where they're looking for plug and play accessibility but improved immersion. If that's the case, this is a very good product. I'm very interested to see what it will be like with different hardware attached. I'm interested to see the future of the company and whether they look to increase compatibility going forward for the many different brands of peripherals that are available. For instance, when I spoke to Simon, they're developing a transmission tunnel that will then support different gear sticks and become a little bit more immersive, a little bit more dynamic than the setup that we've got at the moment. That will be plug and play, so it will be, if you own an existing unit, then this will be bolt-on additions. You won't need an entirely new design. So all in all, it's a very good product at an exceptionally good price. I've enjoyed my time with a Symdeck motion platform. It's a little bit different from what I've experienced before, but altogether very, very satisfactory. So in summary, I like the design, I like how compact it is, I like how neat it is from a cable management, hides the console, the monitors all attached as one to the unit. I like the adjustability from wheel deck height, forwards and backwards, and the seat. I absolutely love the tensioner in the seat belt. I think the inclusion of a butt kicker or a base shaker, should I say, is a very good idea. I think the wind simulation aspect is really, really strong. I think the speaker placements are very good as well. So there's a lot to like about this rig. I enjoy the motion aspect forward and backwards. I think that works very well and is a very good idea that many people will find different to what they're used to, but very quickly get on board with and enjoy that experience. The downsides are, I think there are some aspects that have not been thought out well enough and feel a little bit temporary, such as the stuck-on sensor, what I believe to be a poor placement of the cable housing, and the limitation in the amount of hardware that it currently is compatible to working with. Other than that though, all in all, for the price, for the point of the marketplace it's trying to enter, this is an exceptionally good rig. I've really enjoyed it, and I think at the end of the day, the only thing you can ask is, did I find this more immersive than driving a static rig? Yes. Did I find it fun? Absolutely. Is it a realistic price? Is it accessible to a reasonable number of people? Completely, in my opinion. I think that's all you can ask. I think that's a very positive outcome and a very positive review of what has the potential to be a really good, really strong player in the sim racing hardware marketplace. Right, I've been Paul. This has been RDTV. We've been reviewing the GCR1000 Symdeck motion platform. Hope you've enjoyed the video. Sim racing's awesome. Until next time guys, stay safe. Give us a like and a subscribe, and I'll see you later. Ta-da.